This is not a season where you're getting everything done. We're surviving, we're sleeping, we're keeping the baby alive, we're keeping ourselves alive. You gotta make it work. Would you like to take a nap, sir? Are you still hungry, sweetie? I feel like he's just gonna fall asleep on my boob and then my boob's just gonna be out this whole video. So these are my tips for surviving postpartum. My first tip is sleep. Obviously, that is one of the main thing everybody talks about. It is always
sleep when the baby sleeps.
Obviously, that's the main piece of advice, but nobody actually gives actionable steps on how to achieve that. So I'm gonna share what I did to get sleep. So number one is, I know a lot of people talk about night nurses. We did not have a night nurse. All right, I'm gonna put my boob away now. We did not have a night nurse, but I think that's a good option in order to get some sleep, to have somebody do the overnight shift, whether that's your partner or your mom, somebody that can come and rock the baby back to sleep. The feeding isn't the hard part. Once you're done feeding them, getting them back to sleep can be really difficult. So having somebody help you do that so you can sleep is great. But my favorite, which is what we did with my first and this one, is to have somebody take the baby in the morning. So with my first, my husband would get up whenever the baby got up, like 7:30, 8 o'clock. He would take our first bear into the living room and they would play and hang out for an hour or two, and I could sleep because I had been doing all of the feedings overnight. So it was a really good way to bank sleep and kind of catch up on all of the hours that I was not getting. You can also, what I've done a lot with this one is just have somebody come over during the day. We had a rough night. So like right now, my first is in daycare and my husband has to go to work. So there's nobody at home to watch Coda except for me. So if I woke up and maybe had a really rough night, I will text my mom and just say, hey, can you come over at some point today? I really need a nap. And she'd come over maybe like lunchtime and she would take Coda and I would be able to get like a 1 or 2 hour nap in, and that really helped. Just be creative in how you can get sleep. Do what you need to, have a plan in place, do it safely, but you're just gonna be a much better mother and person if you've slept. Yes, we're always nicer when we get our sleep, aren't we? Okay, so jumping kind of off of that, so number 2 would be building your support system. So if you have a partner, they're obviously going to be a main part of your support, but you know, parents, family members, friends, neighbors, anybody that you can have that you can kind of lean into and ask for help. I think a lot of people are way more willing to help than we want to ask for. It's out of my comfort zone to ask people for help, but it helps you build that village. It's not just gonna happen. My mom was an incredible village just by herself. She's just like a powerhouse. She made us a bunch of freezer meals when I was pregnant. Yes. Doing laundry, folding laundry, putting laundry away, taking care of my toddler, running errands for us. So she's just really like the main person that I lean on aside from my husband. That really helps us. Yes, he does. You're my help. He does. And I think that just goes back to not trying to do it all and letting other people help you. This is not a season where you're getting everything done. We're surviving, we're sleeping, we're keeping the baby alive, we're keeping ourselves alive, and that's the goal. So if the dishes don't get done, so I've gone through postpartum twice. I had my first son in August of 2023, and then I just had Coda, my second, in February of 2025. So I just wanted to share my survival tips and what helped me get through the first few weeks, because it is very overwhelming, especially if you're a first-time mom.
So this is not medical advice, it's just my personal experience that I wanted to share.
And go ahead and subscribe and like this video. I have a bunch of others. I have a playlist about all of my mom advice, registry advice, all that kind of stuff. So yes, I do. So subscribe if you haven't. I also have videos talking about, I have a bunch of videos about being a mom, postpartum, baby registries, all that stuff. So definitely go check those out and subscribe if you haven't. All right, number 3, which we're gonna do later, go for a walk, is to get out of the house. So I think it's easy to stay in bed all day. It's easy to sit on the couch all day, especially at the very beginning when they like sleep for 24 hours or what seems like 24 hours. Are you messing up my shirt? It is what it is at this point. But it's easy to start to go stir crazy if you haven't actually left your house in a week. So just try to get outside, even if you just go sit on your porch. Put out a chair, take your baby, sit outside. Babies love outside. We used to take my first outside all the time when he was crying, and for whatever reason, it was like so much stimulation, he would just calm down. All the like birds chirping in the sun and everything. Yes, we liked outside. So if you want to Okay, so the next thing would be to just try to go out and walk, even if you just walk around your block for 10 minutes, but just get outside. Do your best to get out of the house, run errands, go to a drive-through. It not only helped me just feel like more normal and like I'm still in the real world, but I think it also helps you feel comfortable taking your kid out. I think, especially with my first, it was really hard mentally. You just sort of think like, there's just a lot of bad things that can happen, and it's hard to not have all those intrusive thoughts sway you into not leaving the house. But I remember we would like go to Target and I would just walk around or like get Starbucks and, you know, just kind of force myself to take him outside so that I would get more comfortable, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel and you feel confident in your ability to be out in the world alone with them. So this kind of ties in with going for walks and getting out of the house. We're getting through this video. So number 4 kind of goes along with that, which is gentle movement and moving your body. So your body's very sore after birth. It's a major, you know, trauma to your body. And so obviously don't go overboard and push it, but just kind of moving, stretching, just doing things that will help your body heal. And then as you recover more and with your doctor's okay, start to ease back into your exercise routine. I think, what are you? 13 weeks? He's almost 14 weeks old. I'm just getting into working out again. I think I've been to the gym once. I went on like a very, very short run and just sort of easing back into it. But it took a while. Like I didn't do anything other than walking for 2 months. So definitely don't push yourself. Take your time. But when you feel like your body's ready, start easing back in, and it really will help like you mentally as well as physically. Number 5 is plan snacks and meals ahead of time. I've found it really hard to come up with dinner during the day or in the moment. So I try to take a day where I do my grocery list and meal plan for the week and at least have like 4 or 5 meals that I'm gonna make, and then know that we're gonna like eat out or everybody's just gonna be on their own for most of my husband. Somebody has to make my toddler dinner. So yeah. Do your best to plan, even if you're eating the same meals over and over again. At least you've got something, you have food in your fridge. What I found is the most effective is to try to meal prep when you're pregnant. So maybe once a week, make a meal, freeze it. It makes such a huge difference, especially in the beginning when you're recovering and everybody's just like in the trenches, they're in the thick of it. Get ahead of it. And then if you have a support system, if you can get somebody to set up meal trains for you, if you have somebody who can just come over and cook your dinner for you, it makes a huge difference. But try to do as much as you can in advance, whether it's while you're pregnant or at the beginning of the week for your following week. It's just really hard to get all your food in, and if you're planning to breastfeed, you really need to make sure you're getting enough nutrition so that your baby can get all of that nutrition. So this is way more important than you think it is, and it's going to save you a ton of headache once your baby is here, which is prep all your baby gear and unbox everything. Not necessarily the stuff they're going to use like later, like a high chair or a bouncer or whatever, but your slalom machine, your baby monitor, if you buy like a sterilizing system, unbox it all and figure out how it works. Half that stuff you have to download apps for and create accounts, and you definitely don't want to bring home a baby and be trying to figure that out. Like, no, just do it early, have it all ready to go, feel confident that you know how to use it, and it will make it so much easier when you have your baby with you. This also goes for your breast pump. Try to figure that out. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than you think. Before I ever used one, it just seemed so complicated, but it's not. But just, you know, turn your breast pump on, figure out how your flanges work, all of that sort of stuff so that you're ready for a baby. I was gonna save this tip for the end, but I'm just gonna put it right here at the very beginning. If your baby is crying and you cannot calm them down, try feeding them. Feed your baby. People get so stuck on how long they feed them for or the amount that they're giving them. They're probably hungry. If they're not tired, they're hungry. That's really all they got going on at the moment when you bring them home from the hospital. So if your baby's super fussy and you're like, well, I just fed him for 30 minutes and I'm supposed to wait 2 hours before I feed him again. No, just feed your baby. Just feed your baby, please. That's why we have this chonk. He just eats all the time. And now he sleeps a lot. So feed your baby. All right, number 7, which is really hard for me, which is to let go of your expectations. I think it's easy to lock into what you think postpartum is going to look like, especially with my first. I had no clue what it was going to look like, but you still kind of build up these ideas in your head, and so you kind of just want to let that go. Every moment is not wonderful. I love him, but every moment is not bliss, so you just kind of have to let that go. And I think it's also easy because this is my second time postpartum, and even still, like, I had an idea of what I was going to do. I was going to make all these YouTube videos and get all this stuff done in my personal life, and I got hardly anything done. I have just been feeding him and sleeping and taking care of our toddler, and that has been my whole day, every day for the past 3 months. I haven't really accomplished much else, but that's okay. We're giving ourselves grace. It really just about survival in the very beginning, and now we're sort of in a routine. We're getting more sleep, and now is the time that we can start focusing on other things. But in the beginning, it's just about survival. Number 8, very important, is your mental health and taking care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you cannot take care of your baby. I know a lot of parents go through the baby blues, which is such a stupid name. It's, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum rage. All of these things are very common, especially at different levels. You can have like minor postpartum depression. You can have like full-blown postpartum depression. But definitely look for signs of that. If you think that's something that you're suffering from, tell your doctor. I, with my first, had postpartum depression and postpartum rage, and so I talked to my doctor, and I think a lot of people are afraid to admit that. It feels like you're failing, and it also feels like, well, if I tell them that, it means like I'm not going to be a good parent. Are they going to use this against me or something? But my doctor was great. We didn't even have to go into like the details. It was like, okay, great, I'm going to prescribe you something and see if that works. If you need a higher dosage, a lower dosage, we'll figure it out together. And you can also look into therapy if that's something that you want to consider, in order for you to like show up and be the best mom that you can be to your little baby. Just keep that in the back of your mind. I think it affects more people than we realize, because a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's definitely nothing to be ashamed of. I'm like such a better mom, and it helped so much. This one is hard to admit, but bonding with your baby is not instant. I think we all hear the stories about people who give birth, and it's instantly this overwhelming love and, sheer bliss for this little human. And that just didn't happen for me. It happened for my husband, which I'm like, okay, be better than me. But it did not happen for me either time. I think what's hard is, even though this is your baby and you've carried this baby for 9 months, you have thought about it nonstop, you're prepping the nursery, you're getting ready, you're nesting, you're doing all these things to get ready, but they're still a stranger. I mean, the reality is that you have not met them. You do not know who they are. And so it seems like it would be very normal to not immediately feel overwhelming love for this baby that you just met 2 minutes ago. So for me, I loved him, but there wasn't that instant love. It's something that grew. I think you just have to be patient, and the more that their personality starts to show, when they start smiling at you and cooing, it really starts to ramp up, and you start to feel like a lot more connected to them. There's also ways you can build that connection, which is, doing skin to skin, doing contact naps, talking to your baby, making eye contact with them. And so just don't feel alone if that doesn't happen for you, and be prepared for it to grow. There's definitely nothing wrong with you. I felt like I was a terrible mother because I did not feel overwhelming love the second that our first was born, but it definitely grew. I love him so much now, and same for Coda. I couldn't imagine my life without either of them, but just be patient with yourself. Number 10, stock up on essentials. And I think a lot of people stock up on things that they think about, like diapers, wipes, diaper cream, those sorts of things. But you also want to stock up on medicine or things that are going to be out of your control. And if your kid gets sick at 2 a.m, you're not going to want to run out, and there may not even be anything open. So going ahead and thinking through different things that you might need. So medication, pain meds for you, adult diapers for you if you run out. Children's Tylenol is probably the most common one. Nasal spray if they get congested, that little bulb or some sort of suction thing to get snot out of their nose. Just think through all of the things you may want and you will probably use throughout their infancy and childhood, and just having a good little stash of that so that when you do have an issue, you already have it. You don't have to go out and get it. Number 11 is probably the most important for me to feel like a person, and that is to have a shower every day. I know there's like a cliche about moms not being able to shower every day, or it's been a week and I haven't been able to take a shower, which is truly sad because I would hope that if they had a partner, they could hand the baby off for 5 minutes and take a shower. And if they're not, you know, that is an issue. But I think you really need to prioritize yourself, even if you have to lay your baby down, even if they're fussing. Sometimes with my first, he would be crying and it was the only time I was able to take a shower because my husband was working late or something. And it's like, I'm so sorry. I love you. Mommy needs to take a shower. I will be right back. And just hop in the shower for 5 minutes. Obviously, it's better if they are not crying and you can hand them to somebody, or you can put them down to sleep and you can take a nice calm shower. But just getting like clean and washing my hair and rinsing off all of the spit and whatever milk, you know, there's just a lot of things that get on you when you have a baby. So being able to shower daily is a must for me postpartum. And I just want to say, like, everybody's postpartum journey is different. These are just tips that I found helpful. I wanted to share with you, and just be very kind to yourself. This is a new experience. Even if it's your second, it is a new experience. This is a different baby. I'm a different person. This is a whole different postpartum than it was with my first. And so it's easy to not only compare yourself to others, but compare yourself to yourself. So just give yourself grace, be kind, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I will see you next time. Bye. Yeah, want your milk? Hi, Smiley. Thank you, guys. I shot you in the face.